I watched a webinar yesterday on webinars, and one of the pieces of information I picked up is that you should always start your webinars on time because it helps us to stay on track, one, and then teaches us to make sure that we get on time into all the webinars we've all agreed to these days to be a part of. So in the spirit of that, it is 11 a.m. I'm going to kick us off on our third Comfy Convo. I am super, super excited about today because we have a different format. Logan is going to be taking us through the educational piece. Hey, Logan! And we also have Asif as our presenting pal today, who's going to talk to us about marketing technology. So to get started, let's go ahead and make our rounds with introductions. And so we'll do the same format we did in the last couple of Comfy Convos. I'll go through those that are on video. I'll call your name out. You'll unmute yourself. And then those that are on phone calls, I will read the phone number out. And if you're able to, please try to join us with audio. So today's introduction is going to be 1, your name, 2, the organization that you represent. And then I'm going to ask 2 questions. First is, do you have a communications plan? So it's either yes, no, or unsure, or maybe. And then secondly, if you use communications technology already, what is your favorite, such as MailChimp or Slack, whatever that might be. All right, so I am going to model for us and start us off on our third Comfy Convo introduction. And my name is Michelle Long-Spears. I'm with NP Voice. And my favorite communications technology is probably Slack, actually. All righty, now we have, let's go to Mel, because I'm super proud of Mel recently. She has got a new academic endeavor in her near future. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Mel Shenstone. I work with Michelle at NP Voice, and I also have a new consulting enterprise of my own called Whole Visions LLC. And I don't have a communications plan for my current work. And I've worked with lots of platforms, but I don't know, I'm just gonna throw a little love towards the Google, because I'm actually a big fan of their, particularly the Google Docs system, Google Drive, and all of the functionality built into that for getting projects done.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mel, for that introduction. Travis, I will turn it over to you.
Cool. Sorry, excuse me. Hi, my name is Travis. I'm the executive director of Right Boot here in Atlanta, and we're a service provider that helps disaster relief NGOs recycle unwanted donations. My favorite is a communications tool as a technology piece. I jumped in here just a second ago, sorry. I would probably say right now LinkedIn and like the services offered by LinkedIn Premium, just because I have had a ton of success recently kind of growing, exponentially expanding my network, and the beauty of the connectivity of the modern age is really evident to me right now through LinkedIn. I really like it.
Great, thank you, Travis. I appreciate that. All right, let's move on to Mike Sears, an old friend of mine from Florida, back in our YMCA days.
I'm Mike Sears. I am actually with the YMCA up here in Pennsylvania. And as far as communication tools, I'm with a very small Y. So we're doing a lot of Facebook. We're starting to get into Instagram and using some other tools as far as getting into constant contacts and a few other things.
Great, thank you, Mike. And good to see you again and part of this webinar. All righty, Sharon, you are up, ma'am. Karen, are you there? Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on. There might be a tech issue. John Thea Harris, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm John Theo Harris. I'm with the Presbyterian Church in America in their training and development ministries, and I am also the executive director of Lead Missions International in Tanzania, which is also a kind of equipping to youth to get them to be servant leaders in their context. And I didn't catch the question.
No problem. For everyone who just jumped on our webinar today, we are introducing ourselves with the format: 1, your name; 2, the organization that you're with; 3 is, do you have a communications plan for the organization that you represent? And the last question is, what is your favorite communications technology or platform?
I imagine we have a plan at the Presbyterian Church in America. Somebody has a plan. I don't, but somebody does. And I guess the thing we use the most is something called Basecamp, which is pretty cool. I guess it's like Google Docs and that type of thing, but I know we rely heavily on Basecamp. So I guess that would be it.
All righty, great. Thank you, John.
Yep.
We have 2 Carols on the line. So let's start with Carol with an E, and then we'll go to the other Carol with no E. Carol with an E, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. I'm sorry. Looking for my little icon.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm with Leadership Gwinnett and also with Gwinnett County Board of Education and communication plan. I'm just here to learn. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Good to hear your voice again, Carol. It's been a while. Now, my other friend, Carol from Oakwood, you are up, ma'am.
Good morning. This is Carol Yancey from Oakwood Trails Neighborhood Watch Group Community Initiative. Not quite sure what our communication plan would be other than face-to-face, email, Zoom. And I guess we use all above right now. So I'm not quite sure where we're headed in the communication plan.
All righty. Well, thank you, Carol. I appreciate your candor. Ale from Denver and Costa Rica, you are up, ma'am. Hello.
Hi, so I'm Alejandra Monge. Hi, how are you doing, Michelle? Good to see you. I'm the executive director of the Coca-Cola Foundation, and we're a nonprofit that serves in the Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica. And I'm currently in Denver with no flights to get to Costa Rica, so I'm stuck here. And we do have a communication plan, and it's based on social media. And we also use MailChimp. And although we have a communication plan, we do have to adapt to the challenges of the times. So we're always having to readapt that communication plan to whatever's the need of the moment.
Great.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate that. And I had the pleasure of meeting one of Ali's comms ladies when I was down in Costa Rica. And she is absolutely brilliant and amazing and a ton of fun to be around, quite frankly. All righty. Moving on to Stephanie. You are up, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Stephanie with the Gwinnett Chamber, and I'm the Director of Marketing Communications. We do have a marketing plan. Obviously, it's gone a little by the wayside right now, but I'd say we use Asana the most internally, and then Constant Contact and social media really for our channels.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining us. The Gwinnett Chamber, for those that are not familiar with it, is absolutely amazing, and they do a great job of representing small and big business in Gwinnett County, around the state, and truthfully around the world. So yay.
Thank you.
All righty. Peggy, you are up, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you all doing? I'm Peggy Crawford with Oakwood Trails Community Initiative. No, we do not have a communication plan, but our favorite communication that we're using is Facebook. That seems to work for us. We're also using Instagram, LinkedIn, some other ones as well.
Great, thank you. Glad to hear that. All right, moving on to Mandy.
Hello. I am Mandy Macrogiannis Mickelson, and I am here representing Doc B Cares, which is an organization that provides an after-school program for the youth in the Southwest Atlanta, the more marginalized, underserved communities in Southwest Atlanta. And I volunteer on the board, so I'm not really directly involved, but I am trying to get more involved and understand more about this world, which is why I've been appreciative of these webinars. We don't have much of a communications plan right now. We are terribly behind on that front. And if you went to our website, you would see exactly what I'm talking about. So we are in the process of shifting that and changing that. And as far as communications platforms, I mean, somebody mentioned Asana. I personally use Asana myself, which I really like. I find it effective and relatively intuitive. But as far as, for the organization, I'm looking forward to being able to utilize what social media has to offer, because I think that is, obviously can offer a lot. So.
Great, thank you, Mandy. And I do want to throw some kudos your way, though, with Doc B Cares. You have done a great job of thinking through, at least doing the first phase of updating your website and improving your online presence and overall communications work. So that's awesome. All righty, Mr. Gary Harris, good to see you back, sir. You are up.
Okay, morning. Hi, Gary Harris. I'm Managing Director for the Center for Sustainable Communities. We're all about making communities greener, healthier, safer, or more climate resilient. And we do that through an equity and environmental justice lens. And let's see here, my favorite communications platform is Blue Jeans. And let's say yay for Blue Jeans, because they started off as a small company. And on yesterday, they were acquired by Verizon. So let's hope that they're going to deliver the same sort of personal customer service in the Verizon state as they're doing now. And in terms of a communications plan, we just had a 40-page strategic operating plan handed over to us by some students and consultants. And the first thing they said was, Gary, get a communications plan. So, it's so timely here. So I'm getting the communications plan.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And thank you for lifting that up. And I think it's awesome that you work with both students and consultants around a strategic planning process. All righty. We're now going to go to Jen Castor.
Hey folks, this is Jen. I'm with Building Equity and Alignment for Impact. Our communications plan is in progress, so really looking forward to learning a thing or two today. And I'll copy Mel. We rely so heavily on Google Docs, Google Sheets, also MailChimp and Zoom.
Wonderful, thank you, and welcome to the webinar series. All righty, now I'm going to kind of shift back through and see if I caught everyone. All right, we have someone on the phone, 404-820-7370. If you'd like to say a few words. You're still on mute if you can hear us. All righty, well, let's go ahead and move on. And then we have Shama, and please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. You are up.
Yeah, I'm Shama. and I work for the photography studio. Its name is Hakim Studio in Gwinnett County. And right now we communicate through Instagram, Facebook, and email.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and welcome to the webinar series.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else that has not had an opportunity to say hello? All right. Well, I have to say, guys, oh, did I cut someone off? Oh, we have a Kia Dolby on here. Would you like to introduce yourself, Kia? I just saw your name pop up.
Hi, my name is Kia Dolby. I'm with Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta.
Oh, great. And Kia, do you happen to know if you guys have a communications plan, or if you have a, or if you have a favorite communications technology you like to work with?
We do have a communications plan, but it is changing daily with everything that's going on. And let's see, in terms of a communication tool, I can't say that I have a favorite. I use a lot of the social media tools. I like Planoly for Instagram posting, and I think I use a variety of things, but there's no one that stands out as a favorite.
All righty, thank you, Kia. And the Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta is an amazing organization. I worked with them years ago on revising some bylaws for a foster care nonprofit. So Kia, certainly pass that along to your colleagues. Y'all are awesome.
I sure will. Thank you.
All righty, folks. We are going to move into the content of our presentation today. So our third comfy convo is around communications technology made easy. And we had a format shift. So we have Logan going to talk to us a little bit later this hour with the learning piece and a lot of good technical tips, tricks, and tools around social media and communications. But we're going to have Asif kick us off, and he just waved us. Hello, hello. So Asif is a partner with CCS. He has been a friend of mine for, my goodness, I think it's been at least 10 years. I was thinking yesterday, I believe that we met Asif back through the Gwinnett Coalition for Health and Human Services through Nicole Love Hendrickson, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then we have continued to work together through Leadership Gwinnett. He helped me out with some technology issues in the past, and I couldn't be more honored and tickled to have him here today. So Asif, if you want to go ahead and kick us off with the conversation, that would be great. And I appreciate you being our pal today.
Sure, thank you. And I'll give a quick disclaimer. My daughter might walk in and out of our screen because she was doing her ballet right before we started our conversation. But thank you everyone for joining. I think the biggest thing is, as you're, some of you have a technology plan. We're also in the midst of creating our technology plan and getting that together. And if you kind of keep in mind that exactly what the topic is, that it's made to be easy, I think you'll have a good time with even this entire process of a communication plan. And one of the anecdotes that I'll share is a few years back, and Shama knows my dad pretty well, and he has been the most active person on Facebook, many more posts than I've ever done. So if I can teach my dad how to use Facebook or any of these tools, anyone can do it. And I kind of use him as, I would say, a senior, what's the right term, influencer in his group of folks. And so he posts and shares much more than I ever do and has much more interactivity on his posts than I do. So he should maybe lead the session. But in any case, it's made to be easy. And one of the things is when you're starting your process of your communication plan, start with your why. And what I'm going to share with you, and then what Logan's going to come back and present is, I'm going to give you a little bit of a high level of the planning process, and Logan will give you the actual nuts and bolts of how to actually make the magic happen. And she is a magician. If you look at Leadership Gwinnett's social media presence, ever since she's come on, it's been magical. But with that, so first start with your why. And it all starts with, what is your organization's mission? And I believe Gary mentioned that they have a strategic plan, and his next step is to actually create the communications plan. The communication plan will go right in line with the strategic plan. So start with the why. What are your missions? And then what are your communications objectives? Are you trying to reach X number of donors? Are you trying to reach your constituents? Are you trying to reach just the general population? Are you just trying to, do good for the world by sharing your message? Are you trying to increase donations? So figure out what are your objectives in terms of relating back to the why. And then finally, even decide, do you even need to communicate what you are about to communicate in your plan? So write it down. And you say, for example, there are 15 different social media channels. And if you decide that, hey, one is good for our community, then stick with that. Is that where your audience is? And why do we need to look at other communication channels? So keep asking the question why as you go along. The next few things are really about figuring out who your audience is. So the next question I would ask as you're looking at your entire plan is, you've got the why. You've decided that you're going to bring in your staff, potential donors, as well as your constituents to help you decide your why. Then they can also help you decide who. One of the biggest things for example, for the nonprofits I work with is the volunteers were their biggest donors, at least from an industry standpoint, but we had never asked our volunteers for donations. So if your who includes volunteers, but your objectives and the why include donations, then let's figure out how can you merge those two and marry those two ideas together. So we talked about volunteers. Then you have donors. You may need to reach out to certain donors at certain times of the year. And if you're facing the current pandemic situations, you may want to reach out to them again. So figure out what tools and who you want to reach out to. Then you may want to reach out to your beneficiaries. If you are a nonprofit providing services, but no one knows of the services that you're providing, especially at this time, then a lot of your time and energy, how do you make sure that you're feeling great about it? How do you make sure that you're reaching your why? I'll pause here to see if there are any questions or any thoughts before I move forward. Awesome. And just wave or do a shake if you need me to pause for a second. The next few things are really getting into the nuts and bolts of what we're trying to accomplish. The first is being the what. What is the content? Are you going to share specific stories? Are you going to share the right time? What's the content based on the content that you're sharing? What is it that you want to convey? What's the messaging that you want to share? The next thing is that's the what. So far we've got the why, the who, and then now the what. Right? That's your actual content. Is it going to be videos? Is it going to be stories? Is it going to be just impact numbers that you're sharing? The next question that you want to ask as you're doing this plan is when? When am I going to share this information? Am I going to share it on certain dates, certain times of the year? Am I going to share it at certain, and if you have a very tactical plan, are you going to share it at certain times of the day? So you've got your why, which is your huge big picture. You've got your who, you've got your what, and you got your when. The next question, which is, Logan's going to go deep dive much more into that, is where? Where are you going to share this information? Is it going to be only digital, right? A lot of as we were talking and as people were sharing their best tools, everything currently feels that it needs to be digital. Are you going to have mailing as part of your strategy? Are you going to use the postal system? Yes, they're still around and they're pretty strong at the moment. Are you going to send out postcards? Are you going to send out handwritten thank you cards? Where are you going to communicate this message? And then it comes back to how often. So the questions of why, who, what, when, where, and how often. If you answer those 5 or 6 questions, I think that'll kind of give you a good framework of your full strategy and your communications plan. And one of the things that I know I feel a lot is information overload. And it's so, there's information coming at you from every angle. And your donors, your beneficiaries, all of the individuals that you want to connect with are also feeling that of information overload. So find those soft touches. What are those soft touches that you can reach out to? A handwritten letter, not everyone's doing, right? That's a soft touch that could be part of your communications plan. And then as you kind of start to answer these questions, the whole process becomes streamlined and much easier. And these are simple questions. Nothing that I've said so far you guys haven't heard before. It's just a framework. So once you have this framework, you're able to get on and create a plan that others can join you on this journey on. So it is a journey. So you do need to involve your board members. You do need to involve sometimes your significant other or your kids to get an additional point of view. You also need to involve your volunteers, because you may have a lot of volunteers who have the skill set that you may need. And I believe someone shared earlier that students give them a plan. Use interns. There are lots of students. I have an intern now who's in high school who's helping me with a lot of my planning and strategy. She actually, when I first, she used to be so a little background, she used to be my preschool student when I volunteered. I still volunteer as a preschool teacher every Saturday, and she used to be my old student. So she would tell me when she look at my Instagram page, goes, don't use the collages. And so I stopped. I literally stopped using collages and started using the slideshows. And because of the interaction that she felt was more conducive to the clients that I was trying to reach out to. And so a lot of these tools are made to be easy. They're made to make your life easier. So if you ever feel like, oh my God, it's way too much, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to just do one tool at a time or one segment of your communications plan at a time. So as we're focusing on the high level, Logan's going to come in and really help you with the execution and implementation of your digital communication plan. And while there's so many plans, so many tools, we can't underscore for you to just strategize on what works for your audience and what works for you. So I'll pause here, see if there are any questions, and then turn it over back to Logan to actually jump into our implementation strategy. All right, Logan, all yours.
So I am very, very, very appreciative to Asif for making time to serve as our presenting pal today. We have Carol Boyce on the line, and I would be remiss if I didn't lift up that she is a board member for Leadership Gwinnett. And the connection that Asif, Logan, and I all have is through Leadership Gwinnett. It's a great institution, and I'm a very, very proud graduate of the class of 2010. Best class ever, by the way. All right, so I'd like to introduce Logan Serrano as our instructor for the remainder of our hour today. We have about 30 minutes left. Logan is going to talk to us about communications, platforms, and tools that she has found success with the nonprofits that she has worked with. And she's going to tell us about different tools and strategies that have worked for her. She's also going to be candid and tell us about things that didn't. So I appreciate her having courage to do that. And so let's go ahead and turn it over to Logan. But before I do, hold on, Logan. Y'all remember Charlie, right? Okay, so Charlie has been a part of all of my webinars. He is our volunteer, my #1 volunteer that helps to keep us on track and on time. I went to go and grab him to introduce him earlier, and I realized that he was off of the table. My lab, his name is Cam, stole him off of the table. I had to take off my video and go find him. So say hello to Charlie, my #1 volunteer. All right, Logan, you're up.
All right, guys, give me a moment here while I share my screen. We're actually going to be using a PowerPoint presentation today, yay. All right, can everyone see this and hear me? Awesome. So I just want to say thank you for having me today. Thank you, Michelle and Asif. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some tips, tricks, and tools with you guys around digital communications and how we as nonprofit and community leaders can really be effective and efficient with our communication strategy utilizing technology. So first, I want to start by saying our audience is currently online. They are listening to podcasts, they're engaging with social media, they're getting their news from websites and emails, they're flipping through blogs in their free time, you know, they're on Instagram, and they are really passing their time watching videos. So they're online, and if we are not communicating our message digitally, then we're really missing out on a big opportunity here. So I also want to reiterate what Asif has mentioned, is this does not have to be difficult or complicated. There are many actions that you guys can take that don't need a whole bunch of money or a fancy marketing degree or a tech degree or anything along those lines. So you guys should have seen or gotten this blank worksheet from us. This is a sheet that we like to use for all Convos webinars, and it's just a way that we can kind of come up with, help generate ideas and put some planning behind these actions that we want to take. So as you can see here, we like to start off with our deep purpose statement. This is really, like Asif was talking about, this is our why. What is our deep purpose for leveraging communications technology? Is it to reach potential participants? Is it to cultivate current relationships? Maybe tell your story and lift up your vision and mission? Or maybe it's to increase donor support. So this could be all of these things for you, none of these things. This is totally up to your organization and what your deepest needs are for using communications technology. So as you can see, we're going to look through this with 6 different lenses: confident, bold, creative, innovative, collaborative, and transformative. And then we have categorized these 6 lenses into 3 different areas of leadership, vision, and impact. So under leadership, you'll see confident. Now, at this point in time, it is our time as leaders to be bold and take that to the next level. Under vision, you'll see creative. So ways that we can get creative with our communications technology and really innovate new ways of communicating our message. So next, we have impact, and it's truly, in order to be impactful, you need to be collaborative and then take that to the next level of being transformative. So you'll see all the yellow things are our North Stars. They're what we're aiming for with our communications technology strategy in the long run, so the next 5 years or so. So we have developed some tips and tricks and tools around these 6 areas. And I'm gonna go through those for each of these areas, and then we'll turn it over to you. We'll pause and let you guys share your examples of how you're being bold, innovative, transformative, and give us those real life examples of how you plan to implement these ideas or how you already have. So jumping right into leadership, some tips, tricks, and tools around this. Asif kind of mentioned this already, but I employ you guys to create an audience profile. This is going to be your how-to guide for reaching out to your ideal target audience. So I'm talking about actually creating some fake personas or fake people who are your ideal target group. And I'm talking about giving them psychographic information, sociographic information, demographic information. So age, gender, income, what social media platforms are they using? What's the best way to contact them? And what really motivates them and moves them at their heart to make a decision or to take an action? So this will greatly help you tailor your marketing efforts and make you realize that you don't have to be everywhere all at once. You can be on just Facebook if that's what works for you and that's where your people are and that's what's getting you those results. Next is set attainable and measurable goals. This seems easy, but I just want to reiterate again that you won't know if your efforts are or if they're effective if you don't know really what you're trying to achieve here. So figure out, go back to your why. What is it that you're trying to achieve? Is it donor, income, revenue? Is it volunteers, email list signups? Is it, you want more followers on Instagram? Do you want more website visitors? Do you want more member retention? You need to figure out what those are and then take it back to your team and help them strategize with you on ways that you can put metrics and parameters around how you'll measure your progress there. Next, set a digital marketing strategy. This is so simple, guys. You don't have to make this complicated. I literally use Google Docs and I just plan out the next 3 months and I share that with my team. And it is a living, breathing document and just a way that I can put some dates around how I'm going to communicate out with our audience and our different audiences. It's color coded by audience. and they can see what I'm doing and there's no overlap there. So Google Docs is a great way, or whatever shared platform you're using. Just make sure you strategize and show it to your team. Then create a database of current and prospective members. Again, this is not complicated. A database for you could simply just be a spreadsheet that you have with your different, constituents, members, etc., donors, with their name, contact information, and some brief details about them. Just recently with Michelle, put all of her contacts into MailChimp, and it's free with up to 2,000 users. And it's really a great way for us to divide our audience into specific groups so that we can be strategic on targeting those different groups with, actual specific messaging. So that can be like your donors, your current members, your prospects, your volunteers, and you can have them separated out. That is a great way to do that. And I save time every week by utilizing Hootsuite, which is a scheduling platform where you can sit down. I spend about 3 to 5 hours planning out the social media for that week. That way it's done. I'm not scrambling at the last minute to try to get something out that's not really great information for my audience. And it's great if you can just get it all done and it's relevant and it's really planned and thought out. And then I schedule emails using MailChimp, or Wild Apricot is another one that I use for Leadership Gwinnett. And it is a great way for, if Saturday is a great time to send an email, I don't want to work on Saturday. So I'll drag and drop on MailChimp, get it done on Wednesday, and schedule it to go out on Saturday. So really quick, guys, I want to turn it over to you. How can you guys take what you already have and be bold with it? Take it to the next level. So what do you currently have in place? And tell us of a real life example of how you've transformed that to being bold. Guys, Michelle, you might want to help me. Does anybody have an idea? I'm trying to see all the people.
Well, I am getting a text from a friend of mine who is on the line right now. She's actually had called in by her phone and wasn't able to introduce herself earlier. But she wrote that last year, 2019, they only had about 120 people in their MailChimp. And so their goal was last year to be a bold, courageous goal to have 1,000. And they actually got it up to 1,021. So kudos to you.
That's awesome. That's really good. Hard to do, but it is, well, it's not hard to do. It's easy to do if you just have some planning and thought process behind this in a marketing strategy. So that's really cool. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next one, which is vision. And so basically, when you think of communications technology as a resource, how can you get creative around that? So I want to reiterate, research. I am a research person, and this doesn't have to be hard either. Just pick some, follow some similar organizations that kind of, fit with what your organization does. So for Leadership Gwinnett, I follow a bunch of leadership organizations. And for Michelle, I follow a bunch of consulting firms just to see what digital platforms they're using and what kind of content they're sharing and they're creating. So for example, with Leadership Gwinnett, I follow Leadership Louisville. They're a really big, great organization in Louisville, Kentucky that kind of does what we want to do when we're grown up. And they share a lot of memes and jokes, which I get it's popular tip right now. And I thought, let's go for it. Let's just try it with our audience. Let's try some memes. And it failed miserably. I'm not gonna lie, I was embarrassed. I think I took it down later that day. I think my boss maybe commented or gave it a pity like, but it made me realize that my group really just wants to hear more of an educational or a professional tone. That was a great way for me to at least try and learn and go from there. So next, create your brand and stick to it, kind of what I was just talking about. And this seems obvious, I know, but really, guys, you need to stick with your same colors down to the color codes, your same fonts, your same voice and style and logos, and make sure you are using those across every different channel that you have to really make your brand well known and strong. So I want to talk about Canva for a second. Some of you guys have heard of this. I live, breathe, eat, sleep Canva. I'm in that every single day. It's a free platform where they have a bunch of templates and tools and pictures, and it's just drag and drop, and it's how I create all of my social media images and graphics. It's awesome. Any kind of marketing thing you can think of, you can do it in Canva. And they have a tool on there called Brand Kit, and you can insert all of your colors, styles, your fonts and your logos, and it's just drag and drop. You can have your team join you in on Canva, and they have all your colors and fonts there. So it is a great tool to keep everything consistent for your brand. All right, guys, next, get personal, especially these days. People want you to be transparent. They want to get a glimpse behind that curtain. So show them the real you. Don't be afraid of that live button. It's not scary. If you mess up, whatever, it just makes you more personable to these people. Share your videos. Facebook algorithms, they love videos. So share some video. Don't worry about getting out there and messing up. And don't be afraid to use that donation button. That's an easy way for you to throw that on there. If people see and like what you're doing, they're going to give to your organization. So you utilize that. And next, vary your messaging. So mix it up. Don't always be asking for money, and don't ask for money. So make sure everything that you're posting, or at least most of the time, has a call to action. And that call to action can simply just be, hey, sign up to be a volunteer, or hey, follow us and join our newsletter so that we can get you connected. It doesn't always have to be an ask for money, but give them a way to engage with you. Next is stories and testimonials. So this is a great way for people that have been impacted by your organization to utilize them as your brand ambassadors. And hey, like, let me tell your story, write your story for me, would you? Just a few paragraphs, and then you can edit it in your own voice, throw a picture on there and utilize that, and these testimonials that you already have on your Facebook page or website. You can even use these stories in your annual report. Content curation, I want to talk for a second about. It's a great filler for social media fodder. Utilize some articles and posts and blogs that other experts have created on topics that relate to your organization, and share that with your audience. And I would recommend going through and reading through it and pulling out some information and applying it to your audience and telling them why it is important for them. Next, repurpose your content, guys. You've got great impacts that you're doing. You've got really cool events that you're putting on, and news that you want to share, and maybe you make your own blogs. Repurpose, reshare. Don't be afraid to double post every now and then. All right, so I just breezed through that. Now we're going to take it over to you guys. How are ways that you have innovated new ways to reach out to your audience? Do you guys have any examples of this? Love to hear from someone. No?
Ale, you mind talking to us a little bit about what you've done with your communications in both Spanish and English?
Sure. Well, basically now with the COVID happening, we had to transform all our communications. So forever we have been serving the Osa Peninsula, which is in Costa Rica. So we speak Spanish there. And then our target donors are in the United States or Europe or Canada. And so we have to write everything Spanish and English. So we have to go, we have to try to use our communications in both languages, and we have to use it in all social media. We have to go back and forward, English and Spanish, which actually is a challenge. And sometimes I wonder if we should have different channels for each of them. We have to make sure that our communities, the communities that we serve, get informed of what we're doing for a matter of transparency. And then we also need to reach out to the people that support us, and so that they know how we're advancing and everything. But it's been very challenging. One thing that has been very interesting, and well, Michelle is one of our board of advisors, and so she knows very well what the foundation does. But we had to transform everything that we do, because we used to work with groups of children, and we used to work with we used to do training to employees and stuff like that. So now we are moving everything to Zoom. The kids are getting, in Costa Rica we use a lot, and all over the world, but something that's called WhatsApp. So we make WhatsApp groups, and our environmental educator is filming videos every week for the kids. The kids download the videos, and they have challenges to do at home. And this is super important for them, because it's like the one thing that they get to do that is educational. And we're also had to reform our focuses. We have to become more aggressive about helping the community, because the community's been suffering a lot with the whole crisis. So we, in the last 4 weeks, our communication strategy and our activities have had like a huge change. Like everything we had planned in the beginning of the year changed, you know. So yeah, it was that like what you wanted to hear about the Spanish and English?
That's perfect. No, thank you very much, Ali. Again, the foundation that she runs, she's the executive director of the Corcovado Foundation. And I have to say, from a communications perspective, when I was down there working, it is really quite challenging to keep communications ongoing because the area that she works in, it's very intermittent. It actually works. So truthfully, kudos to you for everything you've done, Ali, to keep the Corcovado Foundation on the map in both Costa Rica and the United States, and also really and truly around the world, and for doing so much to translate your good work from Spanish into English so that those of us who don't speak Spanish can read it. So thank you. All right, Logan, go ahead.
All right, and awesome. I follow you guys on Instagram, the Corcovado Foundation. I still don't know if I'm saying that right, but y'all have some beautiful pictures and great stuff coming from there. So thanks for lifting that up.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
All right, and finally, guys, we're going to talk about impact and being collaborative around your impact. So some tips, tricks, and tools around this that I use all the time because this makes my life so much easier. I form partnerships. So do you have an event coming up or a campaign that you want to get out there? Get others in on it, people that you already know, or reach out to other organizations. So for example, I partner with, for Leadership Gwinnett, I partner with the Gwinnett Chamber. So Stephanie, thank you. I partner with Explore Gwinnett, Partnership Gwinnett, the Community Foundation of Northeast Georgia. And I've just made these connections with these people over time. And we will do like a quid pro quo type thing. Like, hey, you share my content and I'll share yours occasionally. You know, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. To offer to return the favor. It's a great way for you to kind of open up your audience to a broader, you know, audience using their audience. And it's just a great partnership there. And I do recommend to create a social media bank. So you create the pictures and the social media graphics that you want to share along with the blurb and the caption, and just send that to them in a social media bank is what I like to call it. So it's so easy for them to copy and paste, and that way it's keeping your brand consistent as well. Next, ask for help, you guys. You have a great group of people that are already behind your mission, and utilize them as your ambassadors. So ask your volunteers, your funders, your board, your committee, clients, whatever you call them, ask them for their support. Truth be told, they probably have been impacted by your organization in a positive way, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask them to tell their story and give it to you. And you can edit it, like I said earlier, and share that out. You can use it on your annual report, make a blog with it. You can do various things with their stories. Ask them to write a review or a testimonial on your website or Facebook. And then you can take those reviews and testimonials and make social media graphics out of them. So you repurpose, reuse. Keep a story bank. So if you're just going through your daily life and you hear someone say, oh, wow, Leadership Gwinnett really allowed me to get connected and do this, that, and the other, take a mental note of that. Write it down, maybe in an Excel spreadsheet of the person's name, contact information, and a brief little description of what their story was about. And whenever you need some social media fodder or, you know, something to post, go back to that person, ask them to write that story, and there you go. Another thing is when you've got something coming up that you're trying to get out there, draft a plug and play email for your board members or committee members. So for Leadership Gwinnett, we have a 2.5-day program that we offer 3 times a year called Glance Gwinnett. And anytime this rolls around and we're really trying to fill those seats, we draft an email about Glance Gwinnett, and just a short email that our board and committee members, Carol, board member, that they can just copy and paste and send that out to their network. So it looks like it's coming from them, you know, and it's sending it out to their trusted audience. Next, interact on social media, guys. Interact. This is what you want organizations to be doing for you. So like, follow, and share and comment on their stuff as well. This will also help get your name out there to them. And utilize and follow hashtags. This is kind of free marketing here. So use the same hashtags or use relevant hashtags that relate to your organization. And when people click or follow on these hashtags, they will see your posts in the, in the mix. So it's free marketing basically. and respond to everything. Thank people when they share your stuff, and reply to messages. Facebook algorithms love to share posts that have engagement. So the more that you can, make people feel appreciative for posting, liking, and sharing, the better that will be for you. And just a couple other little side notes down here. Podcasts are something that are becoming increasingly popular, and it is kind of a pain to create your own podcast. So I suggest to you guys, jump on somebody else's podcast that is already making it happen. A good example is Business Radio X. We've been on their podcast a couple of times. They're out of Atlanta, Gwinnett, and a few other places. Just go to their website and see where they're out of. You literally just show up and answer the questions and talk, and they create and edit this podcast for you that you can utilize everywhere, all over your social media, website, email signature, whatever. And email story pitches to local reporters. I met with an AJC reporter a few weeks ago, and I always thought that I had to write the story or the press release to give to them, and they will take press releases, but she told me they're not always looking for press releases because that's typically going out to a wide audience. So why would they want it if a bunch of other people do? So just send them snippets or story ideas, create a relationship with them, let them do the hard work, the writing, the researching, and then use it when they've completed it. And another way to collaborate is Facebook groups. I'm sure you guys know about this, but maybe it's time to consider creating a group for your members of your organization. So for Leadership Gwinnett, we have an alumni group that we utilize. And it's a great way for them to get together and talk about ideas. Right now, they're talking about all the great things that they're doing for the community surrounding this crisis. And it's a great way for them to lift each other up, come up with ideas, and then a way for us to also market to them as well, because we got them all in one place. So I'm going to turn it back over to you guys. How can you transform your current network that you have and your connections into these digital collaborations? Have you guys had any success doing this, or do you have an idea around it now? I'd love to hear from you.
Would anyone like, go ahead, please.
I think that was me, Michelle.
All right, folks, this is your opportunity to lift up some good work that you have done around communications technology and getting the word out there. And so we'd love to hear from you.
I know some of y'all have done some cool stuff. Don't be afraid to share. Give us your ideas.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can.
Hey, this is Kia Doby. I'm from Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta. We have been doing a lot of new messaging around the COVID-19 outbreak to help our clients. And we have been sending out a lot of special alerts over the last several weeks, probably like a lot of organizations have. But two of the things that we have implemented just recently are, we just started a new podcast. We had our first edition come out this week that has resources that are related directly to COVID-19 outbreak. And we're also doing something new, which is a weekly digest. So as things have died down a little bit and things are getting a little bit more normal, instead of sending out, multiple email blasts a week, we've been sending out one email blast per week that has just a summary of resources and things, because so many things have changed so quickly. So I just wanted to share those two things with you guys.
Great, thank you. Would you mind putting a link to that in the chat box so everyone can visit and see what type of opportunities you have available?
Absolutely.
All right, back to you, Logan.
Well, guys, that kind of concludes my tips, tricks, and tools around those 6 different lenses that we were talking about. I didn't want to give you information overload, as Asif mentioned. So these were some, really quick ideas and tools around this. I mean, we could talk about this all day long. So feel free to ask us some questions. I'll stay on a little bit after noon to answer some of your questions. And if you want to connect with me outside of this, I posted my email address in the chat box. So feel free to reach out and we can talk and collaborate. But thank you guys for having me today to share some of these ideas with you.
And Michelle, I wanted to share something quick. For everyone that's a nonprofit or 501c3 on the call, make sure that you are fully utilizing the free or discounted tools that almost every technical organization offers. Examples are, if you need a Zoom meeting, for example, You can reach out to Ring Central at this point, and I can share a link maybe afterwards where they're offering their virtual phone service as well as incorporated Ring Central meetings as part of their full platform for nonprofits, schools, and healthcare. Google Apps, for example, Google for Nonprofits is amazing, has great grants to offer for marketing and communications as well as their entire platform at no cost. And then also Microsoft also offers their email platforms and their communication tools at no cost to nonprofits. So we can possibly, Logan, share this with the team or folks on the phone, and I'll put something together. The main thing that I guess I'm getting at is any tool that you're about to subscribe for, ask for the nonprofit rate, ask for the nonprofit discount, ask for it. The more you ask, the more hopefully you'll get. And the old saying goes, right? Don't ask, don't get. So I would definitely recommend asking for these discounts and price breaks.
Great. Thank you for lifting that up, Asif. And I will say that I guess it was a couple years ago, I had reached out to Salesforce, and I did not realize that they had a package available for nonprofits, and it was free, and it is awesome.
It is, correct.
All right, friends.
I had a question or comment.
Please.
Maybe, and I just wanted to ask with everybody, because I don't know if everybody gets the same problems, but we use a lot of MailChimp for our mailing list. And we only have like the free option because, you know, the other options seems to be too expensive for us, especially for the return that we get. And I was wondering if you had any suggestions of like what packages can work better, if you think that constant contact might be better, or what options would you recommend for mailing lists?
Hey, Michelle.
Yes, go ahead, John.
This is JT. Can I just say something to that? You're in Costa Rica, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm currently in Denver, but my team is all in Costa Rica.
Right, in Costa Rica. Well, so for everyone on this call, this might be helpful to think through when you think about donors and things like that. So I was a missionary for a long time, and we have to get really creative with funding. This is where this idea came from. Donors will sometimes gift services. So if you can connect with somebody who has types of platforms or does that type of thing, they can connect services. So a really good example is I had to travel back and forth to Africa in the beginning, 4 or 5 times a year. That gets really costly. But what certain donors did that traveled a lot, they gifted me miles. My doctors I don't pay anything for a doctor. He still gifts as his support of my ministry. My dentist gifts. So all these services they'll gift because for them it's not really a cost. And so I don't know, it might be hard to meet somebody at Chimp Mail or something like that, but somebody that has an organization that you might know that uses MailChimp at the highest level might be able to give you a seat on their platform, so to say. So that's just those are just some ideas about, just think creatively about maybe not dollars, but a service or something provided, or a specific ask to say, look, MailChimp costs me $100 a year, for argument's sake. Can you cover that cost for me to one specific donor?
That's a great idea. For Leadership Gwinnett, we have partners, and they'll do in-kind things like that. So we do have even our IT support. They offer that in lieu of actually paying us money, and we get to kind of share their logo around. But I will also say we utilize with Leadership Gwinnett Wild Apricot, and Asif knows about Wild Apricot as well. But it is a great all-in-one or kind of platform where it has database. You can send out, it creates emails. You can even have a website with it. So it's a great tool that you can use. And Asif, is it free to up to a certain amount of people?
Yeah, so the way Wild Apricot's set up is it's up to 50 people. If you have 50 contacts, it's free. But with kind of going back to Alandra's question about MailChimp, you can get 15% off as a nonprofit, so if you apply. And right now they're also giving away free domain names if you don't have your own private domain name. So this is a great time to just do some research, and we'll do some research for you guys as well, so, and collaborate on that standpoint. And sorry, my daughter wanted to say hi to everyone, so she's here as well. But with that, I think we're close to time, and I want to pass it back to Michelle.
Hello, everybody. All right. I have to say I'm very proud of us, and so is Charlie, for getting done on time today. It is 12 p.m., so I'm going to do a super fast wrap up, and then Asif, Logan, and I will stay on the webinar for anyone who has questions or has any comments or ideas they'd like to share. So our next Comfy Combo is next Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I haven't determined the topic yet, but we will release that on Monday, so I'm super excited about it. We have had a great conversation today. Many, many thanks and much appreciation to Asif and Logan for teaching us, enlightening us, and motivating us to use communications technology because it is easy, it will help us grow, and the long term will help us remain sustainable and help us to continue reaching our audiences, whether they be donors, grant makers, volunteers, program participants, whatever. A couple of other groups that are doing trainings like this are locally here in the Metro Atlanta area. We have Georgia Center for Nonprofits, Community Foundation for Northeast Georgia, and then nationally, the Goodman Center. They did a wonderful webinar yesterday, the one I referenced earlier, a webinar on webinars by a gentleman who was previously in radio. It was excellent. Network for Good, my friend Maria actually started working with them a few months ago. She was previously with Candid. And then lastly, one of my favorites is the Stanford Social Innovation Review. They've got a lot of free webinars and trainings right now. So thank you all very much for tuning in to our third Comfy Combo. I hope you guys will all come back and visit with us next Friday for our fourth Comfy Combo. Again, topic TBD. Thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy this beautiful weather, at least that we have in Atlanta. I hope you have it wherever you're at too. Take care. Bye, everybody. Charlie says bye. And stay on if you have questions or comments. Bye. All righty. Anybody else still on the line? Is there a question you'd like to lift up, a comment, a concern?
Well, I had one comment.
Go ahead, Mandy.
Okay, I just had one comment I was going to make around when Logan had been talking about keeping it simple. And I used to work in marketing in the corporate world, which, Michelle, as you know that I've been doing this kind of like volunteer, and you would never know that from seeing what Dr. Cares that's going around. But one of the lessons that I learned, again, around Logan saying keep it simple, was we had a design department. And so when I was sending out communications for a specific call to action, I used to get really caught up in wanting to make it, elaborate and a lot of graphics and images and something that was going to really be eye-catching and innovative and interesting. And then I would find when we'd go back, we'd send that out, and then we'd send out just like a plain text email that said, hey, check out this latest program, or, look at the latest case study on our website. And we would find that we would get more clicks from those emails than from the ones that had all the fancy images and whatever. And that was always a great lesson to me, because I always would go back thinking, wait, this can't be right. And I realized I was bottlenecking myself by getting caught up in thinking everything had to be so elaborate, and it really doesn't, because people were just, in a lot of cases, more likely to click when it was just a message that was like, hey, here's the latest case study, check it out here. So that was a great lesson.
And I agree. If you look at the text message marketing and text messaging, and I think what Alejandro messaged about WhatsApp, those in your hands tool, which just has a link and some content, has a much more of a positive experience than anything else.
And it really shows transparency too. And also Facebook and Instagram, they won't even let you create an ad unless it's seriously just a photo and maybe like a little logo. You can't have a bunch of writing and words all over it. So that's an interesting tidbit there. And thanks for sharing. That's very true.
Very good tip, Logan. I'd like to share a comm strategy that has worked for some of my clients and then myself in the past when I've worked with nonprofits. When at one point when I was getting used to mass communication, and particularly in email, when we ended up getting so many emails, I'd get like 150 a day. I thought, oh my gosh, I know I'm not the only one that is getting all of these emails. What can I do to reach these individuals that I really wanted to be certain that I connected with? So what I did was I started like a text chain, and I'm not a marketing, technology, communications expert, which is why I had Logan and Asif talk today. But very simply for me, I just set up a little, again, like a chat, text message chat using SMS technology to 20 different individuals. And those individuals were potential donors, existing funders, and potential grant makers. And so I tailored my text message communication to that specific audience and talked about our accomplishments in terms of impact, and then how we spent our dollars on programming and operations. And then I included what we still needed funding for, or where we were struggling in our programmatic area. So for example, I worked with one nonprofit and they were only paying their teachers $10 an hour, and she wanted to raise it up to $15 an hour, and even that really was almost below market. And so we started this communication out to these 20 folks, and in about 3 months, we were able to make up that funding gap, increase salaries, wages to $15 an hour. And of course, it was a win-win. Everybody was happy. The teachers were happy because they needed the additional dollars and deserved it. The funders and grant makers and donors were happy because they were able in real time to see how their dollars made an impact on education and children. And then for the marketers and so the fundraisers and the communications staff, and then myself as a consultant, or helping them at that point in time, was that we found a strategy, a comm strategy that really worked to raise funds. And my understanding is they continue to do it today, which is great. And so again, I just really suggest to everyone, think about what your capacity is. If you can afford to pay someone, like I pay Logan to help me with my communications, fabulous. That's great. And honestly, since Logan has been helping me out, my comms has gotten so much better to the point that my friends are like, wow, your LinkedIn presence looks great. I'm like, it's not me, it's Logan. But if you can't afford to do it, think about the simple ways that you can reach these identified folks. So you have to start out with identifying who they are, what your message is, and then just execute, get it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have, like to Mandy's point, you don't have to have all these beautiful graphics. They're interested in the content. What are you doing? How are you making impact? Where are you making impact? And if you're trying to use it as a resource to increase your funding, what is happening with those dollars? And so I'll get off my soapbox, but anyways, I wanted to elevate that. Who else has got some ideas or thoughts?
I will say, Carol, if you're still on the line, she just sent me an email, and this might be a little more of a technical question for you, Asif. Carol, do you want to lift this up, or is this more of a personal question I should have asked? It's about her re-election coming up for the school board.
Yes, no, I had a re-election coming up, and I just, I'm still struggling a little bit with my website and so forth, and interested in doing a donate button for that. What do we need to think about in doing that? I know if you're talking about putting credit card information and security and so forth, what are some of the considerations that need to be thought about before we do that and make sure that it's safe?
Sure. So one of the things you want to get is whoever your credit card processor is to get donations. They should also have the functionality to give you some code you can put on your website. So an example would be if you're using PayPal for donations, they actually give you the code that you can copy and paste on your website. And essentially it'll take them, nothing happens on your website. All the transactions happens on a secure platform on their site. So it really depends on what tool you're using, and then they should be able to give you the code. If not, just let me know and we can help you out.
Okay.
Carol, so for Leadership Gwinnett, we use a company called authorize.net, and they do that for us as well. So maybe we can work with you outside to kind of help you get that on your website.
All righty. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carol, for that question. Does anyone else have any comments or feedback or questions for our experts, Logan and Asif? All righty. Well, I'll go ahead and bring this to a close. The Q&A segment, kind of a second close, haha. Anyways, thank you all so much. Have a great weekend. Hope to see you back. Oh, I see your daughter, Asif. Hi.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Hope to see you guys
That was
back next week.
Great information. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Charlie says bye.